Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I am Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a post-fight show for UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Garbrandt. This was an explosive, exciting fight night that took place at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was extravagant. Had superstars on this fight night, top to bottom, and yeah, there's a post-fight wrap-up of the main card, so let's get started. The main event was a bantamweight clash of two top bantamweights in the UFC, Cody Garbrandt versus Thomas Almeida. Cody Garbrandt, obviously he's a Team Alpha Male guy, and he is a top prospect out of that training camp. Thomas Almeida, he was coming into this fight 21-0. A lot of hype, and wow, yeah, overall on this card I got 7 picks correct and 5 incorrect, so I just barely got on the winning side of this, and I got slaughtered on this main card. Yeah, I got this main event wrong. I thought Thomas Almeida, his speed and his footwork would get him the victory, quick knockout. It was the other way around. Cody Garbrandt hung in there and landed some good shots and rocked Thomas Almeida early, and he got KO punches, round 1 knockout. This was the only finish on the main card. I was pretty shocked about that. I thought there would be more finishes on this main card, but this main card was pretty good still. And yeah, Cody Garbrandt jumps into that top 10 now. He's ranked number 7 depending on what rankings you look at, but yeah, Cody Garbrandt, I say give him Bryan Caraway next, and then whoever wins that fight goes to a number 1 contender match, and then after that, title fight. Yeah, so I think yeah, Bryan Caraway looked good against Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling on the Fight Pass prelims in the bantamweight division as well. And yeah, Bryan Caraway, his grappling skills, I think would complement Cody Garbrandt's striking, and it would make a good grappler versus striker. Yet, don't forget, Cody Garbrandt has great wrestling ability as well, and he's good at takedown defense. So it'll make the fight really interesting, and it'll be a tough, challenging fight for Bryan Caraway. However, Cody Garbrandt could win, and it could go either way. So it'd be a good fight if they decide to make that fight in the bantamweight division. Yeah, so Cody Garbrandt wins first round knockout over Thomas Almeida in the main event. KO punches. Then in the co-main event we had a featherweight clash with former UFC bantamweight champion Renan Barão versus UFC lightweight veteran Jeremy Stephens, who in recent times has dropped down to featherweight. And he's looked pretty good, and I knew that the experience and the power, knockout power of Jeremy Stephens would get Jeremy Stephens the win, and I knew it would be one of those cat and mouse where Jeremy Stephens would chase down Renan Barão and devastate him at times. But Renan Barão had spurts here and there where he came back into the fight, landed some good shots, and yeah, this wasn't a grappling war. I knew there wouldn't be a whole lot of grappling in this one. It's mostly stand-up, and it was unanimous decision. It was 29-28 across the board for Jeremy Stephens. Yeah, this is one of the fights on the main card I got correct. Yeah, Jeremy Stephens looked good, and this is a good big win for Jeremy Stephens, getting a former bantamweight victory over a former bantamweight champion who made his featherweight debut in this fight. So good job, Jeremy Stephens. Can't wait to see more of him. And yeah, I say give Jeremy Stephens some top 10 featherweights, see how well he does there, and then maybe a title shot down the line. We'll see. Yeah, this was a points match. It was pretty much all stand-up. Then also on the main card in the welterweight division we had Rick Story versus Tareq Saffiedine. Yeah, this one, wow, this one was pretty surprising fight. I thought Tareq Saffiedine would use the striking and keep Rick Story at bay and get the victory here, but it was more or less the other way around. Rick Story, he won, it was, yeah, 30-27 on one of the judges and 29-28 on the other two. And Rick Story, you know, he had maybe not the most exciting win over Gunnar Nelson back in Sweden a while back. He had a long layoff, and he came back and got this win over Tareq Saffiedine. And I think if Rick Story could get some big finishes now, get some big knockouts, then that will really elevate Rick Story even more. I think the guy has all the talent in the world, and it's just a matter of him being paired up against the right opponent at this point. He beat a former Strikeforce welterweight champion, Tareq Saffiedine, so that's a good victory to have on your resume. And yeah, Rick Story just kept pushing the pace against Tareq Saffiedine in this fight, got the victory, clean, unanimous decision. And you know, the thing about Tareq is his striking is top notch, so Rick Story had to deal with a lot of defense as well as offense with Tareq's striking, and you know, I think that's what made this fight a decision win for Rick Story. I think had this been a lesser caliber striker, Rick Story would have knocked him out. Yeah, I think Rick Story could win by knockout in his next fight, but nonetheless, he got a win, and this was a good fight. I'm happy for Rick Story. I wanted him to win this fight. Big fan of Rick Story, and yeah, so he definitely is in that top. He definitely has to be in that top 10 now. You can't deny him that top 10 spot in the rankings at welterweight. Then in the middleweight division, we had Chris Camozzi versus Vitor Miranda. Yeah, Vitor Miranda coming off Ultimate Fighter Brazil. You know, looked amazing. I believe he was a runner-up. And then you had Chris Camozzi, who is a veteran, and his grappling's underrated. His striking is top-notch. And Chris Camozzi he put it on Vitor Miranda and just devastated him and dominated each and every position en route to unanimous decision victory. So it was a good win for Chris Camozzi in the middleweight division, and yeah, I think Chris Camozzi just needs more consistency now with his wins and string up those wins, and we could see definitely him having big matchups in the near future. Not that he hasn't had them in the past, but go back to those bigger matchups. Then in the welterweight division, we had Lorenz Larkin versus Jorge Masvidal. Yeah, this fight I thought Jorge Masvidal's grappling skills would get in the way of Lorenz Larkin, but Lorenz Larkin's takedown defense and overall grappling defense looked great, and Lorenz Larkin was able to push the pace with his striking, and I think he did win this fight. He won by split decision. There's a lot of debate, you know, maybe Jorge should have got the decision. No. I think Lorenz won this fight fair and square. He pushed the pace and he dominated pretty much most of each round, I think. And yeah, this was 29-28 on two of the judges and 29-28 going the other way. So yeah, Lorenz Larkin wins split decision, and it's nice to see Lorenz Larkin get back in the win column and keep moving forward in the welterweight division. And I think the welterweight division is good for Lorenz Larkin. I think middleweight was just too big of a weight class for Lorenz, and I think with the weight cut and just the diet and everything, he looks good at welterweight, and his last fight could have gone either way, and this one he won. So yeah, he's definitely not looking bad right now at welterweight, and I think he's found his niche at welterweight, and he's a well-experienced Strikeforce veteran. And yeah, he had good clinch strikes in this fight and really brought it to Jorge Masvidal. So yeah, good job Lorenz Larkin, and keep it up at welterweight. Then to kick off the main card in the lightweight division, we had Paul Felder versus Josh Burkman. Yeah, this one, I thought Paul Felder would get the knockout at some point, but credit to Josh Burkman, he hung in there and he went the distance. And it was, yeah, 29-28 across the board for Paul Felder. And Paul Felder definitely needed this win to really keep himself relevant in the lightweight division. And I think Josh Burkman may want to consider going back up to welterweight. I think lightweight may be too big of a weight cut for him, and I think Josh Burkman, given his age and his experience, and given the pool of talented welterweights, there's a lot of guys that, aren't that young that are top prospects at welterweight. I mean, you look at a guy like Carlos Condit, he's not the youngest guy in the division. He's certainly not the youngest guy, on the UFC roster. He's not old, but he's not the youngest. And Josh Burkman, he's up there in age for a fighter, and I think welterweight would be a better weight class. So I think Josh Burkman should go back up to welterweight. The speed and power of Paul Felder just kind of overwhelmed him, and Paul Felder landed some good strikes each and every round. And this was pretty much a kickboxing match for Paul Felder, and a good win for Paul Felder. And I think Paul Felder should stay at lightweight, and Paul Felder should get the top 10, top 15 guys in his next fight. And so there you have it. There's a post-fight show for UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Garbrandt. Stay tuned for my next episode, which is going to be a pre-fight show for UFC 199. So until then, see ya.